Welcome to the 10-Minute Treasurer. My name's Jeff Pospisil, and in this video, I'm going to talk about what is the cost of a Global Methodist pastor's compensation package. And the reason I'm doing this video is a number of churches have reached out and they just want to know what are the rules around compensating your pastor, because they're used to that very much top-down approach where you had a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it guidance, but there was actually some teeth to some of these rules. And what you're going to find in the Global Methodist denomination is, at least on the administrative side, there are a whole lot less rules. I think the Global Methodists, they put most of their effort into thinking what safeguards do we need in the theological realm and not so much the administrative realm. Let's leave that up to the church and their own context. But let me show you a spreadsheet that I developed to help you calculate the cost of a pastor if you happen to go Global Methodist. All right, here's my spreadsheet, and I'm going to put a link to this in the description. First of all, I want to lift up that I have notes on the right side, so you can go ahead and look at that. I'm really zoomed in here, so that's why everything looks pretty big. One of the things there, I just say typically the minimum salary for a United Methodist full-time pastor is $40,000. Again, there's no rule on this, but your goal should not be to pay your pastor the least amount possible. Hopefully your church is prospering and you're paying a good wage. The other compensation, this is any other taxable income. So sometimes that might be a health insurance allowance. The other thing I sometimes see is a Social Security allowance. So that would be 7.65% of the salary. But it could be anything else too. It could be a Christmas bonus or whatever. So I'm going to put 0 in here. And then the next thing to look at, and it's just all these colored cells that you got to worry about. So are they full-time, three-quarter time, half-time, quarter-time? Do they live in a parsonage? Yes or no? And if they don't live in a parsonage, typically if the pastor is three-quarter time or more, I'll see some kind of a housing allowance, a cash housing allowance. So this is an extra amount paid over and above the salary. And I see anything ranging from about that $10,000 to $25,000, depending on, again, it kind of depends on where you're at. So what state you're at. In the Dakotas, that's what it was. For health insurance, pastors that are full-time can opt out if they are on Medicaid, Medicare, TRICARE, or on the spouse's coverage. Or if they're less than full-time, of course, they could opt out as well. The amount changes depending on if you're single, a married, or a couple, two people, or family. One of the Global Methodist positions is that you pay for the benefits you receive. They didn't want to play around with complicated formulas and calculating everything. You pay for the benefits you receive. So another thing is when we look at the pension contribution, that first 5%, or the pastor's pension is 5% of their compensation, and then they match the next 5%. So the first 5% is automatic, and then the next 5% depends on what the pastor contributes. So here I just plugged in 5,000 and you saw it doubled. Now I put in 6, 7, and it doesn't change. I put in 99 and it doesn't change. But I change it to 4, and now you can start seeing it move again. And 3, 2. So you can see it moving there. And I put in 2.5 there, but I need to add some decimals. I'm going to fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple decimals, and now you can see that. And then the last one is the disability insurance, and that one there's no option. You're either eligible or not eligible. And when you see me change this, I changed it to three-quarter time, and nothing changed. And nothing changed for half-time. And I'm going to put this at opted out, because a lot of times you're not going to see health insurance for a half-time pastor for sure. And now when I change it to quarter time, they're no longer eligible for the pension contribution or the disability insurance if your pastor is quarter time. So that's kind of interesting. All right, let me go ahead and update this for what you might see for a typical quarter time pastor. So maybe $10,000, and usually no housing allowance, usually no parsonage. And so you would just see that if you pay your pastor 10,000, it's going to cost you 10,000. If you pay him 12,000, that's the total cost. There's no other added costs. If I was going to look at a half-time pastor, then you start seeing some added costs. You'll see something for pension, you'll see something for death and disability. And again, the flexibility in how you determine the salary or even the housing, that's up to the pastor and the church to negotiate that. And if you need somebody from the denomination to help, at least to provide information, that's also available. There's no hard and fast rules about this. All right. All right, so that brings us to the end. I went through that pretty quick. I love spreadsheets, and sometimes I do walk through them pretty quickly. So if you have to rewatch it, go for it. Um, Again, you probably noticed that there's not a lot of top-down from the Global Methodist. There's no parsonage standards. There's no minimum compensation. Um, there are participation requirements in the pension and health insurance, but that's just the way it is with any group plan, I guess. But we tried to, your church is just going to pay for what you receive. So whatever goes in the pastor's account is what you're paid for. There's no fluff like in many of the United Methodist systems. You know, whether it's the health insurance or the pension, there's no fluff there. So anyway, I hope that helps, and God bless you.